When I conceived this exhibition, I thought that the art is a place where you can find also an alternative to this world, and I didn't want to repeat this dark reality, but more to offer something else, another perspective, and to give a tone that not being optimistic or on a naive way, but more trying to give another type of energy, which is a kind of joy of encountering the art and a nourishment, because this changes your life deeply and enriches it. So this was my state of mind, without ignoring this reality of the world, which is present in my exhibition. I think it gives also a kind of serenity, a kind of pleasure of the experience, and maybe a kind of feeling of being here and there. I have, as you can guess, a background not only in art but also in literature. So the idea of the journey, which is very strong in the literature, European literature tradition, like in Germany it's called the Ausbildungsroman. The idea that you go through a journey and through different passages that you experience something that transforms you and leads you somewhere else. And so that was my idea for the exhibition, that should not only be a succession of rooms, but also an experience of thinking and feeling for the viewer, that have the possibility to follow a sort of path from the individual dimension to the dimension of the feelings, to the dimension of the common, and through different steps arriving to a dimension that is more metaphysical, spiritual, more speculative. It's important to understand that an artist nourishes himself from a lot of things, which can be whatever, nature, scientific research, or even literature. And so I thought of bringing the book into the exhibition, not only as a printed book, but also as a work of art that is very often made by some artists using the medium of the book itself in the work. Not an artist book, but a work that uses the book as also a metaphor of knowledge, a possibility of making a work that is portable, kind of artwork that is also linked to narration and the idea of telling a story and so on. So it's strange that, in a sense, being an intellectual would mean that you cannot deal with this dimension of the emotions, as if we would still live on the heritage of the Cartesian philosophy, or this idea that the spirit and mind are two separated spheres, when all the new research of cognitive sciences show us it's totally the contrary, and that in fact, there is a constant loop between both. So that's the scientific aspect, but there is another one which is about the time where we live in which I think we deny very much these emotional dimensions of our experiences, and it can lead to a sort of comeback of this emotion in a very not beautiful way, I would say, you know, like these fears and anxieties that are also generated by acceleration of the media in this direction, either to maybe create these fears, but also to control the fears of the people for other aims. I don't know, but the climate is over-exaggerating a feeling that is normally a natural feeling that helps the humankind to reproduce itself. You know, fear is just a tool to react in a situation of danger. I think the expression of emotion has to be rebalanced now in a more, I would say, serene way, and in a proper manner, because otherwise it leads to a lot of unexpected reactions and unnecessary conflicts, and that's actually the experience we had to live recently, both in the States or in France. The Pavilion of the Common is a kind of universe devoted to artists who basically, since the end of the 60s, there is a strong movement in the art about trying to restore something in common and to react to the loss of the common. So it's about building a space, or either material, but also it can be more mental or spiritual, in common with the artist and the viewers, or with a collective. It's really about an art that doesn't stay in the sphere of the individual in a closed studio, but encounter the people outside the white cube. The first piece of this pavilion is from Charles Atlas, and it was shot in Florida. There is a montage, editing of different views of a sunset with a music that is a sort of elegy towards the sunset that lasts 18 minutes. And then there is a sort of mix with the voice of the famous The Lady Bunny that you Americans know well, and she's like commenting the situation of the world between war and peace, and also overexploitation of the earth, and asking herself why there is still war and why not peace. And then she begins to sing a disco song that refers to a sort of love affair that fails. So it's a kind of absurd encounters of different private and global realities that shows also the beauty of the world and the fragility of the human. So after the many other chapters devoted to tradition, shamanism as a position of the artist as a missionary, the Dionysiac Pavilion, the Pavilion of Colors, you'll arrive in the Pavilion of Time and Infinity. And here it's really about an experience of what time is, which is very difficult to define in itself. I mean, scientists have arrived to a definition that put together matter, space and time. And artists are always speculating about time, because in general they use also sort of time-based pieces, performances or pieces that explore the dimensions of time. Edith de Kint has done a work that is about the experience of repetition and difference. So there is a performance with a person that put dust together into a rectangle of light, but this rectangle moves all the time thanks to mechanism. So the performer has to re-put the dust in the right position, and it never ends, and it's like this during 6 months. But it's also about the future and the feeling of eternal return, so it becomes very much more metaphysical, and we finish the show with a kind of work that questions the idea of the infinity and somehow the unknown dimensions of life.